This is an AR-3 reconnaissance drone. In this corner of southeast Ukraine, it's best not to break cover for too long. This is the final test flight for the UAV, or uncrewed aerial vehicle, before being sent on a longer mission over Russian-held territory to hunt for targets. Ukraine's drone tech has become the envy of Western weapons manufacturers. But this one was made 1,800 miles away. And this is the story of how it got here and why Ukraine needs it. So let's go back to where it all began and follow the drone from factory to frontline. We've come to an airfield on the west coast of the UK. Behind these doors is a key component to Ukraine's fight against Russia.
We come to this private airfield in the west of Wales because this is the start of a journey. The drones produced in the warehouse behind me are just about to embark on an 1,800-mile journey to the east, to Ukraine, and we're going to join them.
This is one of several manufacturing sites in Britain for the Portuguese defence firm Tikeva. It has expanded into the UK market in recent years, partnering on both government and military contracts. Before 2022, their focus was on drones that would be on the lookout for things like illegal fishing activity or migrant boats out to sea. All that changed with Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Now, more and more of Tikeva's drones are in the skies over Russian-occupied parts of Ukraine and out over the Black Sea, on the lookout for targets.
So behind us is our AR-3. It is a circa 4-meter wingspan, 25-kilogram platform that can operate beyond 200 kilometers. Depending on the payload configuration, you can do kind of 12, 16 hours, and it's really designed to do kind of long-range ISR activity.
ISR meaning intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. The AR-3 has a vertical takeoff variant, but the ones headed for Ukraine launch with the help of a catapult. This airfield has its own designated airspace over land and sea.
Are we cleared to turn off the aircraft and disarm the batteries?
The British military is also training to use the drone. For soldiers here and out in Ukraine, being able to unbox, assemble and launch quickly is critical.
You unbox it, stand it up on the structure, assemble the wings. Within 10 minutes it's ready to be configured to your comm system. Within 30 minutes the Mark 8 is ready to fly. Get in, get out. It's all about protecting staff and the user.
In 2026, the UK says it will supply 150,000 drones to Ukraine, part of a $1 billion funding package. In the workshops, around 50 people are employed to assemble, paint, and laminate the drones, while looking for any imperfections that may affect aerodynamics. Each aircraft is made up of around 300 components. This is the area where the wiring system for the AR-3 is put together. It can take 3 to 4 weeks to assemble one UAV from start to finish. Many of those produced here are headed to Ukraine. Since 2022, the drone has already received hundreds of upgrades, driven directly by the feedback from the units on the front line, like anti-jamming technology or camouflage and paint coatings to reduce radar detection. Tikeva also changed the engine to give the drone a steeper rate of climb.
The operating environment in Ukraine has really required us to respond at a speed that is almost alien to traditional Western procurement. Where a traditional procurement might take a number of years to be brought into service, that is just far too late for the Ukrainians. That technology would be completely redundant by the time it got into service.
From Wales, the drones are boxed up and sent to Portugal for final sign-off. Then it's the long overland journey to Ukraine. And that means the start of a long journey for us too. Okay, so we've done the 5-hour drive from West Wales Airport to London, and now it's time for the next stage of the journey, a 2.5-hour flight to Poland. Well, as you can see, we've made it to the centre of Warsaw in Poland. Since the start of the conflict in Ukraine, Poland has played a key role in the fight. This is the centre for all logistics, humanitarian aid, and more importantly, the provision of weapons into Ukraine. Now, we travelled by air, but the drones that we saw manufactured in the west of Wales are going to be travelling overland into Ukraine, and that's where we're going to try and meet up with them. We can't fly any further. Since 2022, there have been no civilian flights into Ukraine. So from tomorrow, we will go by train. Okay, just about to get on our second train, and this one will take us across the border and into Ukraine. Okay, that's us finally crossing the border into Ukraine, and ahead of us lies another 9 or 10 hours of train journey.
Нумерація вагонів починається із західної сторони.
So after the drive to London, a flight to Warsaw, 2 trains to Kyiv, and a final long drive to southeastern Ukraine, over 24 hours of travel time, we're finally getting close. Okay, we're almost at the end of our journey. We've just met our contact from the Black Forest Brigade, and we're travelling the last few miles to the training ground where we'll see the drones manufactured and built in the UK and Portugal, finally delivered to Ukraine. And here is the van at the end of its long journey from Portugal. The unit is part of the 15th Separate Artillery Reconnaissance Brigade, known simply as Black Forest. An appropriate name since soldiers need forest cover to set up camp, then unbox and assemble the AR-3. Today they're doing a test flight. Tomorrow will be the real thing. This is the all-important payload, a gimbal capable of tracking and detecting enemy targets day and night. The team can also deploy sensors with infrared and thermal imaging to detect objects not visible to the naked eye.
For example, this team destroyed S-400 system, whole system that was in one field, and we destroyed via HIMARS. So our priorities is enemy's air defense system, counter-battery radars, and enemy artillery.
Once out in the open, the unit needs to work quickly to avoid becoming a target itself. This is a radio antenna for communicating with the drone, and this is the launch rail that uses compressed air to inject the AR-3 into the sky. Once in the air, the AR-3 can start its hunt for enemy assets. Data is shared in real time with Ukrainian forces for precision strikes, like this. Ukraine does produce its own surveillance drones and one-way strike drones, of course, but still heavily outnumbered on the battlefield, there are never enough. The drone lands via a parachute and an airbag to cushion the impact. Members of the team recover the aircraft as quickly as they can, then it's back under cover.
That is the end of the line, the end of a story that started at West Wales Airport, where we saw the drone being manufactured. It's come all the way here to southeastern Ukraine for its final tests. And then tomorrow, it'll be running a surveillance mission over the top of occupied Ukrainian territory, identifying targets and passing on that data straight onto the artillery.
In the days after our visit, the Black Forest Brigade's drones recorded these images of a Ukrainian strike on a Russian-held bridge. And they provided the coordinates for artillery to strike this Russian surface-to-air missile system. Tekeva wouldn't say how many of its AR-3s had been lost in Ukraine. In August, Russian state media reported that Russian forces had shot down an AR-3 and transferred it to a research institute for study. A Portuguese-British drone in Ukrainian skies shows how Ukraine still needs Western aircraft to sustain its fight against Russia. But it also shows how much manufacturers need Ukrainian combat experience to keep those aircraft relevant.